Well, first of all, thank you for taking the time to do this interview.
Thank you. My pleasure.
Um, well, I would like to go way back for you. What was the influence of your father, Penty, on you and your career?
Mm. Well, he was always a gentleman. He was a very kind, polite person, and well, I used to be known. Well, I started my career. I used to be known as Pence's son, but then after a couple of years, then he was known as Michael Monroe's father because I got more famous. But he was. I'm happy. I had a happy childhood. My parents got divorced when I was 10 or 11 or something. They separated, which I'm glad for because it would have been worse to. I think it's worse for a kid to listen to parents arguing. So I'm glad that they separated. But I saw my father a lot. Me and my two older brothers, we met and we met him quite often. And he was a great father. And I don't know how it's affected me as a person. I'm sure. Has a lot to do with my character, but career-wise, I don't know. I mean, he
No,
was
the thing is,
he was,
he was. I read somewhere that he was a DJ.
well, he was
And
a radio announcer. It was not like a DJ.
oh, sorry.
It was a
Okay.
radio announcer in Finland back in the 70s when I was growing up. There were only like two official channels on the radio. Actually, three. The third one was like a Swedish channel. So then my father was an announcer. He read, announcing the next program that was coming and reading weather reports and stuff like that. It was very strict and very official. You had to speak perfect Finnish language, to the letter, and it wasn't like these days. It was not like a DJ. It was a radio announcer, like the main speaker on the radio in Finland, for like maybe 45 years or something, almost 50 years. He was on the radio and everybody knew, his voice. But he had an unusual voice. It was very soft and very kind of pleasant and not hard, like very different for radio. So warm and soothing. So a lot of lonely people, or elderly people at night, the radio's their only friend, all they could listen to.
Yeah.
And until then, TV came and, you know, we had black and white TV at first, and TV. My father always said the radio has a much better picture than the TV. So,
Because you
but
have to make your own picture, of course. Yeah.
yes, exactly. Use your imagination. That's right.
Yeah.
So he was a great
Um,
father, and I'm happy. I'm glad, happy for him, and I have had great parents, and my mother's still alive, and she's 1990. I mean, she's 90 years old, and she just turned 90, and she's totally clear in her head, and she's got no medication or nothing, and she's very active, and goes out for walks and goes out singing in a choir and studies German, and she's been studying German for a while, and she goes out for walks and takes care of herself, and so hopefully she'll live much longer even now. But hopefully maybe I have good genes because my my grandmother, my mother's mother lived to be 99 when she
okay.
passed away. So let's hope to have the same
But I
thing.
think your dad was pretty old too, right, when he died?
Yeah, he was 80.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yes, he was. Yeah,
Okay.
he was.
No, but
Yeah,
I was why I asked this
good
question
genes.
because sorry, a good gene. Yeah, yeah. I asked the question because I thought he was into music and stuff like that. But who gave you your music when you were growing up? Was it maybe yourself, maybe your mother, your father, or your
Oh
brothers?
yeah. Well, yeah, I came from a musical family. My father loved classical music and my mother as well. I grew up on classical music. My grandfather was a cello player in a symphony orchestra, and his father was an oboe player. And so, and my great grandfather's father was also played the accordion, but he had like a little shop in a town that he used to live in. But yeah, musically, my mother made me take piano lessons when I was about 5 years old, and then I liked music. But when I was 8 years old, in 1970, I saw Black Sabbath on TV, and I had not seen rock and roll yet. So I was like, "What is this?" and that really had an impact on me. So I decided that's that right there, and then I decided I want to be a lead singer with the long hair and go crazy and wild like that guy, like Ozzy Osbourne. So it was really Ozzy who inspired me, and
What was the
from then,
song?
just it was a live concert,
Yeah, fine.
live in Paris, Black Sabbath live in Paris, 1970. It's online. You can find it on the
Okay.
internet. The
What did it do to you when you saw it? What happened?
well, I heard the sound. I saw the band. I thought the sound was so powerful. I thought, wow, this is amazing. The lead singer was, had long hair, was going crazy on stage, wild and free, and I just thought it was something really special. And I thought, wow, this is something that I could do. I could maybe, and if I could make a living doing that, what better thing than, that would be the best. But yeah, I figured from then on, then I discovered, actually, my father used to buy records like, he probably just went to a record shop and asked them what do kids listen to, those days. And first rock album we got in the family was Led Zeppelin 2.
Yeah.
He bought that for my oldest brother, two older brothers, right? So, and then he bought my first record was Deep Purple, Fireball, and which is still one of my favorites. And my other brother got Alice Cooper, Love You to Death. And that's when I really that band was the band. It looked so cool. The drummer with the hair down here. That's the hair I always wanted. And Alice was that sound and his voice, the huskiness, and what the two songs, the Bella, Second Coming and Bella of Dwight Fry, so theatrical. The whole those two songs together, such a great work of art. I was really impressed, and I that's what I thought. And rock and roll was my thing. And then in Finland, there was like a documentary. They showed rock documentaries which showed, Little Richard, Rolling Stones, and everything. And so I was like, okay, this is my path. And I started buying the Black Sabbath records. I bought all of them. I saved my monthly allowance and bought all the Black Sabbath albums. Listened to them all in a row with the bass on full with my headphones because I couldn't blast them in the apartment. But then, and Creedence Clearwater Revival, Pendulum, that was one of the first albums we got. I love that voice and the way it kicks in the first song was a Pagan Baby. Pagan Baby. I was like, whoa. That was another one of my favorite. That became one of my favorite bands, and yeah. So I got into rock and roll, so when I learned, I realized that music is music and melody. I was 8 years old, so I said to my mom, "Can I start taking piano lessons again?" Because I realized you can play down, down, down. I could play Sabbath and on the piano too. So I wanted to study more piano, and then I just learned guitar. I was self-taught on guitar. I just started playing to, music and saxophone. Actually did I took classical flute lessons for about a year, and that helped the fingering when I bought a saxophone. But I decided to buy a sax, and I thought, sax and piano, Little Richard records, that
Yeah.
inspired me. So I was playing to those records and Coasters and King Curtis and Clarence Clemens, one of the greatest sax players of all time. That was
But
my
why the saxophone then? Really?
because rock and roll, Little Richard records. I thought,
Yeah.
it belonged to rock and roll, and it was different. 'Cause everybody wanted to play the guitar.
Yeah.
Everybody, and solo, especially solos. There's like it's hard to find a good rhythm guitarist. Like Keith Richards was a rhythm guitarist originally, and it's rare. And like Malcolm Young in AC/DC, he was like really a big important integral part of that sound was the rhythm guitarist because everybody always wants to show off and look how I can play. So, and I'd say it's cooler to play less, say like the Ramones, God bless them, came out with first three albums no guitar solos, and then the fourth album had I Want to Be Sedated, which had the first time they had a guitar solo, and it was just one note. And it takes more character to play one note with conviction as opposed to a million notes per second. Like, look how skillful I am. So to me, music was that really moved me, and yeah,
But for
musically. Mm, go ahead.
the other thing well, then you have this dream, and I think it was great for your dad to buy all his sons' rock albums. I think he was
Mhm.
really progressive by doing so.
Yeah,
And
yeah, it
the
was great. that he
Yeah.
bought those records. I'm really thankful that he got them. Because then I got into rock and I
Yeah.
saw Slade.
Mhm.
Slade was playing, it was 1972, first rock band I saw live. Slade played in this hall that's, it's like a sports hall nowadays. The acoustics were horrible, but they had bands play there. And Slade, I was like, I was 72. I was like, must like 9 or 10. I'm glad my mother let me go. I went with my older brothers and some kids from the backyard, and it was so loud. My ears were ringing for 2 days, but it was great. We came back home, and my mother says, "Oh, didn't you have fun?" Because we were like, "Oh yeah, it was great." But then I saw the Sweet also there. It's early '70s, 1973. Sweet Fanny Adams. That was the second live band I saw as a kid, and I snuck in for free. I was, they had a guy at the door collecting tickets, and when they opened the door, people just burst in. So I went along with the people, and got in for free. I was like, whoa, all right, I made it. So, but in any case, yeah, musically. I discovered, the blues. Andy McCoy actually gave me a blues harp. I said, what's this? What's a harmonica? Well, start playing. Okay, I guess so. And I started playing the harp, and then I discovered Little Walter and Magic Dick and Jay Giles band. He's incredible. But Little Walter, he's the pioneer. He's the still the greatest blues harp player of all time. So I figured, blues harp, the saxophone, something different as opposed to the regular guitar. Everybody's just
Yeah.
playing guitar, lead guitar
But
specialist.
then, but then you have you have of course no. Well, then you have the dream. What was it for you, Finnish Finnish boy?
Yeah.
Um, um, did it stop you from dreaming, or made you even dream more, or maybe pursue harder? What was for you?
Um,
Did you think,
well,
well, I can make it, maybe, or not, or from Finland?
well, well, to me, it was Uh, one of the things that got me into, I wanted to make a band and everything, but I was still so young. But when I met Andy McCoy, when we were like 14 or something, that's when we started really seriously. I mean, I had my own little band. I was jamming with him. I figured, we could put together, the coolest band, which we did then with Hanoi Rocks. But personally, something like, AC/DC's first album, High Voltage with Bon Scott. It's a long way to the top if you want to a rock and roll singer, and the song High Voltage. That album, those songs kind of defined to me what being a rocker was about. Really, it didn't make it any pretty. It wasn't like getting rich and famous or anything like that. It was like real life on the road. And like the lyrics of "It's a long way to the top if you want to rock and roll." It's just like the face the truth and the brutality of the reality of being on the road and with a band. And it wasn't no like pretty, no pretentious bullshit. It was just like straight to the point, and hotel motel poetry, fine. It was just like, so I was like, oh yeah, this is the real deal. So I've always figured I don't need much to be happy. I just want to be a singer in a rock band, and I never did it for fame or money. I just did it to be able to do what I love doing the most. And we started Hanoi Rocks. We moved to Stockholm from Helsinki because in Finland you can, at the time, especially when looking, even if you had long hair, there were these gangs of kids that were like beat you up. They all looked like the 50s. They were like not like teddy boys, but they're like, we call them the James Dean kids because they all look like Richie Cunningham and Fonzie from the Happy Days.
Yeah.
And then anybody who looked different, punks or a hippie, whatever, they beat you up. Gangs would attack you and stuff. And I mean, I didn't change my style. That just encouraged me. It's like, oh yeah, I can't be myself. Well, fuck you. But we moved out of Finland, moved to Stockholm. When we started Hanoi Rocks, somebody kind of fucked us over who was supposed to get us a flat. So me and Sammy Alpha, the bass player, and Nasty Suicide, the other guitar player, three of us, we lived on the streets for the first half a year, homeless. That's how we started. So I had nothing to lose. I figured I could only go up from there. I knew that I could, be good enough so I could make some kind of living. And then when I finally got a flat, I got a roof over my head. I was like, hey, luxury. So I started out with nothing, and I still got most of it left.
That's good. But
So
uh,
yeah, yeah,
but then, well, then you're in Stockholm with the band, and while you're homeless, what was
yeah.
then the first big break? from being homeless to actually thinking, well, now I'm slowly getting somewhere?
Well, we were starting to play some shows. We had Zeppo Westernen, the manager, the Finnish manager, who expressed interest in the band before we left Finland, and then after half a year that we've been practicing and stuff, we had a rehearsal place at a subway station, but you couldn't sleep, you couldn't stay there overnight. Otherwise, we would have lived there. But we got Zeppo came to check us out. I called him. I says, "Well, we're ready. You're still interested?" And he came to Stockholm to check out, hear us in a rehearsal, and he was like, "Yeah, this is cool." And he started booking us some shows in Finland for weekends. They had these weekend gigs at a bunch of people. There's like these like dance halls in the middle of nowhere, and people got real drunk and would come to see bands. And we played over the weekends in Finland. Came over and then went back to Stockholm. And eventually we started making some money. And then we relocated to London in early 80s, 81, 82. We played in London and relocated to London eventually. And like by the time 1982, 81, 82, we already lived in London. And we figured, we kind of established following there, especially after our original drummer we had some problems with, and then he was replaced by Razzle, who then when Razzle joined the band as a drummer, Hanoi Rocks became like then we were really like the gang that we became, and us against the world, and and we
What
always had
what
that.
what did he bring, Razzle? What did he
He
bring?
brought the spirit. The spirit is like cream the motherfuckers, kill, kill. Because we're going to see Slapshot was his favorite movie. But yeah, he was the spirit. It's like we're going to play a gig. It's like, come on, let's go, cream the motherfuckers. So he just brought the spirit up because when he joined, we were kind of at a sort of a low point where kind of. Nothing was much happening, and a bunch of drugs and stuff kind of came into play. But when Razzle came in, then was like, all right, yeah, let's go. And that band really, we became a strong unit. And from then on, there was no stopping us. We got this following in London. We played, we had a residency at the Marquee. We played once a week for a couple of months, and we created a scene there. And then we really getting to a point where we got a worldwide deal with CBS Records in 1984 and signed worldwide. So, but then the first American tour, we went to America and started the first tour, and that's when I broke my ankle and had a gig in Syracuse and did four more shows, but it was getting so painful. The first doctor didn't notice that it was broken. It was fractured. So that was getting so painful that I said, I want to see a second opinion. I want to get a second opinion, see another doctor. And then I went to a hospital in Atlanta and they said, well, it's broken. Who looked at this? There should be a cast there. So, okay. So I had a cast on my leg. We went to LA, and then the next day the drummer got killed in a car accident. And that's when the band was so tight and so close and Sammy Alpha, the bass player, he left after that. He decided, okay, that's it. He's going to leave. And we were all devastated. And, then the band broke up. And actually, I thought we couldn't replace Razzle and Sammy had left too. So that was like, that situation was such that Hanoi was such a cool band, and I couldn't imagine anybody replacing them. So it was better to just call it quits. And I'd rather have the world know Hanoi as it was, as opposed to making it big with what it wasn't. You know.
What what do you think if Razzle didn't die in a car accident? What were your plans for when you were over there doing the
Well,
touring?
we knew that we were the best band in the world, and we were going to make it the biggest band in the world, and all the possibilities we had, what it takes. We could have become one of the biggest bands in the world had we been luckier. But it was fate had other plans, so
Yeah.
that's what happened. Can't
Was it
can't
hard for
help.
you? Was it hard? Well, but with Faith having other plans?
Only that I lost my best friend. That was the worst thing about it. Losing Razzle, he was such a great guy and such a nice, great personality. And just losing him, we were all devastated. Losing our best friend. And of course, the band was my life. So it was a big, big adjustment. But I knew that rather than having somebody replace Razzle and Sammy that weren't. I mean, we tried a couple of people auditioning, and it just felt really weird. I was like, huh, this is not right. So I decided rather than have the band, even if we could have become one of the biggest bands in the world, still it wouldn't have been right. That would have been even worse because it wouldn't be the same band. So I decided it's best to, to break up the band and just call it quits, and that's the end of it. And but then I was living with Steve Baders, Steve of the Lords of the New Church, the Dead Boys lead singer, the punk days in America. He had moved to London, and we became. He had the Lords of the New Church at the time, and that was actually the Hanoi Rocks and Lords of the New Church were the only things that really were happening in London since the punk days, except for the Stray Cats were there a little after that, and they created a scene. But then after that, there was nothing much happening except then Hanoi Rocks and the Lords. Steve Baders was always a big influence on me, and he became my best friend. And I was living with him, and he said, let's start a solo career. I says, well, really? Well, I don't know. And I says, yeah, yeah, sure. Would you rather be Michael or Mike? I says, well, I was always Michael originally, so I think that's better. Says, yeah, I agree. And he started like, yeah, I guess, yeah, I could do. I used to write more before Hanoi, and I started writing more songs and stuff, and then really came onto my own as a songwriter during my solo career. But yeah, I just started my solo career then. I moved to New York City. Well, Little Steven Van Zandt, he was also a big influence because of his album Voice of America. The Voice of America album was really, to me, that one, like the song Los Desaparecidos, about the people that made disappeared in Argentina, and without being too political, he just like said the songs had such great content and message that got me, in the heart. And I thought that's what I want to do. I want to move people with my music. I want to, raise questions, raise points, make points in the lyrics and stuff. The lyrics are like tools for positive action. And I believe that you can influence people or make get much more accomplished through your words than any politician ever will when they're talking out there talking a bunch of crap, and not without being political. Just have to have something to sing about. In order to state my case convincingly. Uh,
What was
yeah.
for you the first song that you wrote being a solo artist that you said, well, this goal of having good lyrics and say something that you just thought, well, now I'm getting somewhere. This is where I want to go.
Well, when I started my solo career, I mean, with Hanoi Rocks, I wrote stuff that I wrote with Andy McCoy, and he wrote most of the songs then, and the lyrics were what they were, and he had a great imagination and all. But when I started my solo career, my first single, Dead Jail Rock and Roll, that was that was about me, me and my life. And at the time, there's all this hair metal, ridiculous stuff that they said that Hanoi Rocks started, and I was like, don't blame me for that shit. Because there were so many bands, in the 80s, they played their hairspray cans better than their instruments. And to us, it was all about music, and performance. And we never screwed up a gig but for being, fucked up or drunk or anything. Always did the gigs. And that was the music and the art that became first. That was first. And then, I mean, the guys would drink anybody under the table. I never liked drinking, just, I didn't made me feel sick and I didn't like it. But the rest of the guys in the band, they made sure we had the worst reputation. I still have the worst reputation in rock and roll, one of the worst reputations without having to do anything. I didn't have to, I didn't even have to be a bad guy. I was just like, because Hanoi Rocks had such a heavy reputation. Uh, but I'm proud of Hanoi because we left a mark in the world, and uh, I came out as a solo artist, dead yellow rock and roll, as opposed to sex, drugs, rock and roll. It's cliches, I always steer clear away from cliches. Always reinvent myself and never make the same album twice, and always try to get better. Try to make a better album than the previous one. Every gig's got to be better than the last one, and always try for greatness, which one never achieves really, but that keeps you hungry and keeps me trying.
Well,
And
what do you think of the I don't know if it's true, but I wasn't around in LA back then, but I heard that maybe the talk that you influenced with Hanoi Rocks, you influenced bands like LA Guns, Guns N' Roses, and stuff like that. Um,
yeah,
did you did you play with them back then? Did you actually mix with them?
I was well, Guns N' Roses always mentioned Hanoi as one of their big
Yeah.
influences, and I think it was cool because they had their own style still, though. They had really more, their sound was a bit heavier, more like Aerosmith style, as opposed to Hanoi Rocks was more, rock and roll, but more, we played anything from punk to calypso, we had no limits. But there's a bunch of bands that came out. I was surprised when I went to LA. They were like, okay, so Michael, you the king of glam rock. You started this glam movement. I was like, what? And it's just like I thought this. First of all, I never wanted a big hair. My hair was boring and straight, so I started kind of messing it up a little so it would be fluffier. And then sometimes I didn't cut it for a while, so it became really big, like Johnny Thunders in the first New York Dolls album cover, big hairdo. But it wasn't it wasn't about posing and hairdo. It was superficial stuff. I was real. The punk thing is what a lot of these hair metal bands they missed the spirit of the punk, the rebelliousness, and what rock and roll to me is about being an individual and doing your own thing and shaking up the establishment with your lyrics. You can say, be rebellious in a constructive way. That way, shake up the establishment, write relevant songs and make people get a reaction from the audience. And when you go out on stage, you become you're almost like superhuman. You do stuff that later on you think, oh, whoa, I could have left that out. Uh, Thank God for adrenaline. But to me, in LA, some bands were great, but that were influenced by Hanoi. But then there's a whole bunch of bands who just took the to the superficial side of it. Just
Yeah.
thought that it was all about makeup and big hairdos and posing and partying, sex, drugs, rock and roll, dude. And that was embarrassing to me. I thought like I didn't like to be associated with that because I thought we had more than that. So, like I said, the bands that played their hairspray cans better than the instruments. I didn't care for it much, but then good things were. It's always flattering and great to hear that you've been influenced that you've influenced somebody. Like Guns N' Roses, I'm really happy for it. I'm glad they're as big as they are because they were the best of all those bands from that time.
Mm.
And I would never when you jump on a bandwagon and follow a fashion or a trend or something, then you better be strong enough, otherwise you'll disappear when the wave disappears. So I always say that when something has a name like grunge or glam, then it's over because everybody's trying to be the same. One band comes out of, say, for example, Nirvana came out of nowhere. Great band. All of a sudden they sell millions of records. So then other bands are going, oh wow, yeah, that's the ticket. So they try to sound like them. Never as good as the original, but then there's 2 million bands sounding like Nirvana, but not as good as them. So that kind of kills creativity. And of course, the record companies, they love it. They want to encourage the categorization and put labels on things, say, this is the newest thing, this is the grunge, yeah, the new fashion, whatever. I've always been anti-fashion because I think it's just everyone should do their own thing. And my style is my style. There was a time when even if you were a 100-pound truck driver, you had to have big blonde hair and eyeliner. It's like most people look ridiculous with my style. Someone would look great with just a crew cut and t-shirt and jeans, and that's their style. So, just find your own thing, figure out what your thing is, and then find your own thing and then be that. That's it. It's very
No,
simple.
that's interesting because, well, your new album, Outerstellar, on the song Rocking Horse, you sing all of your imitations soaking me like inundation.
Hmm.
Um, what is the theme of that song, Rocking Horse?
Rocking Horse is it's about me pretty much. The imitation talking me like inundation. You never swallow pride of rocking on the inside. It's only rock and roll and not like it's a statement about my life and the way I see things and yeah, all of your imitations soaking me like inundation. That makes sense to me.
No, but the thing is, there's another line you sing, I never gave up on myself. I
Yeah.
knew I'd always have to sing.
Yes.
What, well, were there moments that you thought, well, shall I continue this?
Yeah. No. No. I had no doubts. Always knew I had to sing. Yeah, I never had doubts about my choice of my life, my path in life has been chosen. All of you, yeah. What was the line you just said before?
I never gave up on myself. I knew I'd
Oh,
always have to
okay.
sing.
Yeah, I never gave up on myself. I never will give up. I'll keep doing this until as long as I can,
Yeah.
until the end of life. But and Life Gets You Dirty, Not Faking It. Those are my album titles. Life Gets You Dirty, Not Faking It. What You Want. That was also my album. So those are in there. So it's just general. It's about my life, my view on things and stuff. Pretty general, you know.
What is your, because well, your previous album was released in 2022, so this is 4 years later. What started for you the, well, this cyclist of the album Outerstellar?
Well, the thing was, I Live Too Fast to Die Young. The previous album that came out in 2022. Uh, so it's 26 now. It's actually about 3 years.
Yeah, 3 years. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So we never really went into the studio to record the album. It just came. I mean, we've had songs. Everybody writes. I encourage everyone to write. And we had like 45 to 50 songs to choose from. And it wasn't until, well, some of the songs are from earlier sessions. Uh, for example, Pushing Me Back, that song is from the One Man Gang sessions in 2018. And it was supposed to be on the last album, but didn't fit in the end. So I just left it off. And now there was a space for it on this record. Uh, the other ones, say Rockin' Horse and the last song, One More Sunrise, they came out of from a session where we got this villa for 5 days with the band, and we hadn't been together in the same room to start songs from scratch since the Horns and Halos album, 2013 or 14, something like that. So it was great to be able to, just be in a room with the band because everybody lives around the world. It's always a challenge to get everyone together in one place. So this was like uh, 2 summers ago, summer before last summer, that we were at this villa and we wrote a day. We had 5 days and we wrote a song per day, and those two came out of that session. And then I think it was even before that we went into the studio those were actually meant to be demos, but we figured later on we listened to it, was like, it sounds good enough. Let's get a good mixer and that's it. So then three songs: Shinola, Road to Ruin, and the Precious. Those three songs were from a session we did at our guitar roadie Bobby's studio in Helsinki. Um, I don't know, 2.5 years ago or something like that. And we recorded a bunch of songs, and those three were from that session, and it just sounded good enough. Okay, fine, let's put it there. We came back from Japan, from Japan tour in Japan in February 24, and that's when we went to the studio, another studio in an hour outside Helsinki, where we recorded the rest of the songs. Black Cadillac, When the Apocalypse Comes, Painless, Neutral Bombs, Disconnected, and Glitter and Dust. So the album kind of came together over the past 3 years. It's been coming together, and there was no deadline. Well, we had deadlines. We had one absolutely final deadline was supposed to be the end of June in 2024, but it wasn't.
Yeah.
And we made a new one because it wasn't ready by then. So, but luckily the music is timeless. There was no rush, no panic, no one's breathing down our necks. So I figured, well, when it's ready, it's ready.
When
And
did you decide on the album title, Outer Stellar?
that was not too long ago. Was it maybe a half a year ago? Sammy came up with the name because he came up with Sensory Overdrive back in the day. So I said, well, we need a name for the album, and there wasn't one song. There wasn't a song that I thought the title would have been good enough for the whole album. So I said, Sammy, come up with something. You always come up with the cool ones and something good. And he came up with a couple of suggestions, but then I think it was maybe the third one. He said, Outerstellar. Wait a minute, that sounds pretty cool. And what does it mean? It's nothing to do with space. It's a slang word which means something moving at a rapid speed, real fast. So that kind of describes me. It's like I'm, quick, really fast, moving fast. So I thought, yeah, that's cool. I mean, interstellar is like something that's in space, but outerstellar was a slang word. And even my manager, even though he's English, he didn't know the word until he looked it up in the slang dictionary. So I thought, yeah, that's great. So let's be outerstellar. And the album cover with the eye, the idea was Rich Jones, my guitar player. He actually came up with the idea, suggested because Sensory Overdrive album cover has my left eye with when I'm holding out open, and it's got the zipper. So he suggested, what about this album cover would have my right eye, my other eye, which is then that's what it is with a different effect. So at least on the vinyl cover, when you open the gatefold, there'll be this cover on the left and Sensory Overdrive on the photo on the right, and together it'll be my my upper part of my face, so both eyes. So that was I thought that was a pretty cool idea, and tying them albums. The albums have that's the only thing they have in common though. There was like no other connection there, but that was a cool idea. Have two eyes with the treatment that they have, and
Yeah.
it's kind of
The
like a yeah. Go
the
ahead.
song Disconnected. There ain't no love on a TV screen.
Hmm.
What do you
Ain't
mean
no
by
love on a
that?
TV screen. Ain't no match for the gasoline.
Yeah.
So ain't no heart in a static age. Ain't no soul on an empty stage. Yeah, the song is about the internet is supposed to bring people more together, and it's actually what it's doing. It's get separating people more. People are more on their own, looking at the computer screens or their telephones, mobile phones, and it's about ain't no heart in a static age, ain't no soul on an empty stage. You have a lot of people nowadays, artists, so-called artists, are walking around talking to a drum beat with nothing, with an empty stage with just a laptop there, and doing whatever is supposed to be fashionable there, hip hop, rap, whatever. But rap music was originally, if you're talking over a drum beat, you better have something to say. And that was the original idea, which I thought was cool. Grandmaster Flash and the Furious Five, and the message, and they had actually something to say. But then it became a fashion, and it kind of got watered down and washed out. And then when MTV started showing them, finally, at first they wouldn't show black music on MTV, but then thanks to Little Steven's Sun City song, that whole project, 1985. I don't know if you were aware of that. It was
Yeah.
Artists United Against Apartheid, about the situation in South Africa. I was part of that. And that's one of the reasons I was singing backing vocals with Steve Baders, and when Steven flew us over to New York to do the to be a part of the video, that's when I decided to move to New York and start over and start my solo career. So so the rap music, people are a bunch talking over a drum beat, but they don't even have anything to say. Then I was kind of like, okay, never mind. And I like melodies in music. I like melodies. I think music, whether it's rap or whether it's heavy metal with a bunch of noise and people going, "Rah," with no melody. I think it should have melody so you remember it and stuff. But yeah, disconnected. It's about people being separate. Ain't no love on a TV screen. Your TV screen.
Yeah.
That's not real love. So real and it's just a real video. Just what's the second verse? It goes I feel it. Uh, yeah, the romance thing. Second verse.
Cold Lies in Paradise. I have it here.
Yeah, but no, the second verse.
No, the second verse, sorry. The second verse is an empty promise of attraction, but no real
Yeah,
interaction. We climb
no
and then
real
we fall.
interaction. Right, that's what it is. Empty promise of attraction. No real
Yeah.
interaction. So that's
Yeah.
what ain't no love on a TV screen. No real interaction. It's just on a screen. No real love. You know.
But do people come to you and talk about your lyrics with you?
Yeah. And
Yeah.
you know what? The thing is, I always try not to be too specific with lyrics because nobody can have exactly the same experience that I have had. And I always want to leave space for leave it open to interpretation because there have been times when some kids have come up to me and told me about a song of mine that changed their lives and really made everything like great. And then they explained the lyrics to me, and I like, wait a minute, okay. I had no idea that that's what it meant, but I'm saying, yeah, that's what I meant. So that means a lot. That's what it means to them. Once you put a song out there, it's everybody's, and people they see things in different ways, and they can interpret lyrics in a surprising way that you would never even imagine. So I always thought, well, it's good. People get something out of my songs. Great. They come many a times, and of course, the best reward to have is you make a point and people get it, and to help people to entertain, of course. But if you can do something even more like constructive and make people see something or think about something they haven't thought before, that's the best. That's like,
Uh, but, well, we discussed Rocking Horse and Disconnected.
yeah.
Is there another song on the album that you, well, lyric-wise, that you say, oh, that I'm really proud of?
Uh, Lyric wise of the
Yeah,
songs.
yeah. You say, well, it's something that I try to get a message across and maybe well to
Well, all
describe
the
people.
songs I'm proud of. I'm proud of all of them.
Oh, but I mean, there must be one or two or three more songs that lyric-wise, maybe, or all the songs are the same for you.
No, the same, but quite the opposite. There's very much a lot of variety on this album, especially because don't want to make the same album twice. And I say unusual styles. Rockin' Horse is very unusual
Yeah.
for the sound of the band. Black Cadillac, When the Apocalypse Comes is very different and painless. And One More Sunrise, 7.5 minutes, almost 8 minutes, 7 minutes and 40 seconds. That's one of my absolute favorites because and it leaves hope in the end. Under stormy skies, don't let life pass you by. Live in the moment, make the most of life, and any day could be your last. So then you better be, at peace with yourself and make sure that you're happy with your life because you could be maybe you have to leave tomorrow. So I always say every day healthy above ground is a good day. Uh, as a matter of fact, Black Cadillac is a cool story. It's about when Johnny Thunders from the New York Dolls, the guitar player. He was everybody knows he was heroin casualty. He got hooked on smack and took him 10 years until he realized he couldn't kick. But thing is, he was living in the back of a black Cadillac in a parking space at one time. You go knock on the window, and a girl's face would appear. What's up? Is Johnny here? Let me see if he's in. And then he would show up. He lived in the back of a black Cadillac. So that song's about a junkie living in the back of a black Cadillac in a parking space in New York. And Cadillac also is a hearse is also a Cadillac normally, the make of a car. So might as well, be in a coffin in a hearse. So
Mhm.
yeah, so that's that story. So every song has a story. When the apocalypse comes is about, where you want to be when the end of the world comes. I got the perfect spot right here in my arms, for me and my babe. For you want to be with your loved one, of course.
Let's say if you we started out with with my first question being about your dad. The 8-year-old Michael, the 8-year-old
Mhm.
Michael. If you think about him now and you and then you think about where you are now in life, um, is it something that he would have believed?
He would have been proud of. He was always proud of me. He came to see my shows yeah, at an early stage. My mother didn't come to see me until much later, but he was always very supportive and came to see my gigs, and I was very proud. It was yeah, which was of course nice. So he was always very supportive. It's just whatever you want to do, find your thing and do your thing, and that's that. He never judged me or anything. So yeah, he was. So what was your question again about
Oh, and
that?
I mean, being you were 8 years old when and when you listened to Black Sabbath and you were imagining a world well beyond what you were doing back then. Um,
Yeah.
is it what you're doing now? Is it something that he would have said, well, this is a life that surely I want to lead?
Oh no, I had no idea what was going to happen. I was always just uh, I was just happy to be able to get by doing what I love doing, and that was the most important thing to me. So I had no idea what was going to happen. I never knew. I left home and I was homeless. I had nothing. I started out with nothing, but I had faith. I believed that I could always get by. Somehow I was always going to manage. I was going to be all right one way or another, no matter what happened, and I didn't know. There's never been any certainty, no guarantees on which there isn't in life in general, anyways. But uh, yeah, I'm quite happy to find that life has been good, and I'm really I'm happier than I've ever been in my life, right now. I got, with my wife and my cat at home, and I get to do what I love doing the most and make a living, and that's the best. And things that talk about like dreams coming true, whatever. I mean, it was like, for example, Alice Cooper, of course, a big influence on me, and then later on we became friends, and on my 60th birthday, as a matter of fact. We were touring. We were opening for Alice and in Spain. No, no, in Germany actually. We were touring in Germany. We did like 10 dates, 10 gigs with Alice. And on my 60th birthday, I mean, many nights Alice would invite me on stage to sing how "School's Out," and which was a great thrill. And my birthday, he knew it was my 60th birthday. We were in Zwickau in Germany, and uh, during his show, at the end of the show, he invited me up to sing "School's Out." But then, when I came on stage, he gave me one of those swords, so I could pop one of the big balloons that have glitter inside. I always wanted to pop them, so he gave me my own sword. I was like, "Are you sure?" Great! Wow, this is amazing. And then at the end of the show, I mean, at the end of the song, there was this guy who came. I have a picture here. This guy who came and brought me a birthday cake, dressed
Yeah.
up like a hunchback in Notre Dame, and Alice sang "Happy Birthday" to me with the whole audience sang "Happy Birthday" to me. I mean, there was this cake. It was a uh, and I was totally blown away. And exactly 50 years before then, this is me, 10 years old.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Alice Cooper. So I had no idea this guy on this album, which I loved, was going to be singing "Happy Birthday" to me in 50 years from then, because I was 10 years old here. So I'm 10, and 50 years later, Alice Cooper's singing "Happy Birthday" to me in Germany on stage. So that is amazing. That
Yeah.
means life is great. You know?
Yeah. Um, nice ending. Thank you, Michael.
All right. Thank you.
Love the interview. Thank you. And well, good luck with the album.
Thank you very much. All the
Yes.
best to you, man. Good talking
Thank
to you.
you.